So the meta at the moment at the 2020 World Championship is a lot about farming junglers versus farming junglers. This is Jensen, and I'm bringing to you my day-to coverage of what I thought was a very interesting trend to compare the jungle parting between TSM Spica and LGD's Peanut in rather similar scenarios. Now, if we were to examine both of these drafts, you would see Selfmade versus Peanut, both of these two players playing farming junglers, and Spica against Clit in TSM versus Gen G, with Nidalee against Lilia. Both of these two players are put into rather unfavorable scenarios because as the farming jungler, you usually want to have your laners being able to push out so that you are able to then pressure on your opponents and convert that into objectives or even create a jungle gap to a certain degree, because your laners would be able to then back you up should a skirmish happen in the jungle. Now, despite both of these two similar setups, where we both have pushing lanes on both side lanes, the end result is very different at 10 minutes, where we see Peanut keeping very even in terms of CS with Selfmade 72 to 73 and Spica being almost 30 CS down as compared to Clit. And this shows in the levels as well, with Graves being level 7 and Kindred staying even on par with that, and Lilia being level 8 and Nidalee only being level 6 at this point of time. While LGD go on to win their game against Fnatic, TSM lose theirs against Gen G. So let's examine how Peanut does his clear. And this is what I call a reverse clear, where you start, you go buff to buff, and then you clear backwards into your own camps. So he does red, blue into Gromp and Wolves, finishing Wolves at 248, and from here he has a mid option, where depending on what information his laners feed him, and if he has seen Graves at any point of time, he can then choose to invade the opponent's top side, picking up the opponent's Raptors and Crocs into a reset, or clear his own bottom side of the map, taking his Raptors and bot crap, and then going to a reset. For him to make this decision, usually it would help to have a mid laner that can contest mid 2v2 prio, and if they get any form of lane information as to perhaps they saw Graves starting on the bottom side of the map, these are all crucial factors that can help Peanut make this decision as to what he wants to go for at this point of time. What he goes for in this game is that he continues to clear top to bot, where he does Raptors into bot crap into reset. And this is what is cool about this clear path, is that on the next respawn, the Gromp will spawn, then the Wolves will spawn, and he will be in position to clear from top to bot once again. So this creates a very efficient way for him to cycle through his camps, and that is what a farming jungle wants to do. And not only that, because he is able to choose which side of the map he wants to play to off the mid option, he is then able to dodge the Graves. So if Graves were to keep his efficiency in cycling his camps as well, we would then create a split map scenario where LGD would then be playing towards the bot side and Fnatic will be playing towards the top side of the map. Whereas if we saw that Graves is invading on the bottom side, Peanut would then get help from his mid laner Sia to be able to contest mid 2v2 and hit into the top side of the jungle, do some counter jungling, secure the top side crab, and this will create a vertical jungling scenario, once again evading the Graves so that he's not getting pressured in his own jungle, and this allows him to play and create a strong side for a top side, relieving pressure for one of his side laners. Let's compare this to what Spica does instead. Now, Spica goes for what we call a 3-camp gank, where he clears out one side of his map. So he starts red, he does his Raptors, he does his Crocs, and then he ganks top lane into a reset. Now what we would be expecting over here is for him to do Wolves in the top crab to repeat gank top, while Lilia would then be able to punish him and clear out the whole bottom side of his jungle. So he will be losing Gromp and blue buff as well. But Spica makes a mistake over here. He walks into mid lane to try to exert some pressure from Bjergsen, and instead he's late to the Wolves. And during all of this time, the Volibear, using the top lane push and pressure that he has, secures the topside crab for Gen G instead. So without the topside crab, he's only left with Raptors and Crocs on the top side of the map for him to collect. And after all of this, he finds himself 4 camps down to the opponent layer and behind in a level. As a result of all of this, the camp cycling is now banned for Spica, and Clit will have options to clear 2 camps and invade on bully on either side of the map whenever his camps respawn. And on top of that, all 3 lanes will continue to remain pushed in favor of Genji. Well, you would usually use such a clear path if you're playing a champion like Lee Sin, Set, or Volibear, but what you're trying to do is invest into your top laner by sacrificing yourself into jungle so that he can get a hit instead. But when playing a champion such as Nidalee, such a parting is definitely extremely risky and is ill-advised. But still, this isn't entirely Spica's fault, as unlike Peanut, he didn't have the option of contesting the 2v2 and having a much weaker 2v2 mid laner in the form of Zilean against Set. He is unable to find the same options should he have opted for a reverse clear as well. So we have to talk about fixing TSM's draft. Now, knowing that reverse clear will need mid jungle 2v2 to at least be contestable in some form, what TSM should be doing over here is sending the Renekton to mid lane and looking for a Kali, Gangplank, Aatrox, Camille, or Gnar on the top side of the map. Now this depends on what broken base champion pool is, but perhaps an AD champion or something that can then fill the role of a scaling champion that is able to assassinate the Ezreal in the later stages of the game would probably be best. And Renekton mid would then enable options for Spica to play through the mid lane and enable the reverse clear to keep himself in the game. Well, that wraps things up. Comparing these two junglers and their parting will reveal a lot about the way the teams are approaching the meta. From watching this, I can tell that TSM is a team that plays to their laners to enable them instead of playing around the jungler, which is a very dangerous read to have, especially when picking farming junglers in these type of matchups. TSM would do well to revise their approach to where the resources are allocated if they would want to advance to the knockout stages of the World Championship 2020. And that wraps it up for this video. Diffie and the Jiffy, as you might call it. Peanut's parting from LGD. Well thought out, went for the reverse clear. Coherent with the draft as well. TSM Spica on the other hand, we can see their problems coming true. Lots of criticism towards TSM junglers in general, but in this case, could he have done things better? Arguably. But there are certain crucial flaws in the draft and in the way that the team processes the game that results in him being so extremely far behind and them being stomped in such a manner by Genji. Now that wraps it up for what I think is a very interesting comparison for day 2 at the World Championship. If you enjoyed this type of content, please do like this video, hit the subscribe button. Your support means a lot to me. Do let me know which of these two teams you think will make it out of groups in the comments down below. Until then, this is Jensen. Thanks for listening to my video and get hyped for Worlds.